All right, let's get right into it. Today we are breaking down Chapter 7, Assessment and Intervention for Emerging Language, from the book Language Development and Introduction. We're going to get into a question that seriously keeps a lot of parents up at night. When a kid is slow to start talking, how do you know if it's just a phase or, if it's a sign of something that needs some real attention? And this quote, this right here is everything. This is the heart of the whole dilemma, and we're going to explore it through the story of a kid named Joey. It's that classic piece of advice everyone loves to hand out. Oh, don't worry, he'll grow out of it. But that one little sentence just papers over a huge amount of complexity and, frankly, a ton of anxiety for parents. And Joey's story is so common it almost hurts. You have this kid, right? He's hitting all his other milestones, maybe even walked super early, but he's just quiet. And everyone, from your neighbor to your own pediatrician, is telling you to just chill out. But what if your gut is screaming that waiting is the absolute wrong move? What if every single day of waiting and seeing feels like you're losing precious time? That's the real tension we're unpacking here. So that brings us to the million-dollar question, right? How in the world do you tell the difference between a kid who's just on their own schedule and one who might be heading for some real long-term challenges? Because, and this is the hard truth, not every late talker just magically catches up and everything's fine.
Yeah, and look, it is true that a lot of kids do catch up. But, and this is a really big but, for a pretty significant group of these kids, this early language delay is the first red flag. It's the first sign of potential learning disabilities, of reading problems, of social stuff that can follow them right into school. The stakes are actually a lot higher than most people think.
Okay, so let's get practical. How do we start to see which kids are at a higher risk? This is not about having some scary checklist and freaking out over one thing. I want you to think of this more like being a detective. You're not looking for one single piece of evidence, you're gathering clues from all these different parts of a child's life to see the whole picture. First off, you got to look at the language itself. Now, what's really interesting here, and this is a huge point, is it's not just about how many words a kid has. It's about the type of words. So a toddler who has a bunch of nouns but almost zero verbs, that's a way bigger flag than just a small vocabulary. I mean, verbs are the engine of a sentence. No verbs, no sentences. And yeah, if a kid isn't starting to stick two words together by the time they're 2, that's another one of those key signals that says, hey, pay attention here.
And it goes way, way beyond just words. How a kid plays can tell you so much. Are they pretending? Picking up a banana and acting like it's a phone? That kind of symbolic play is a building block for language. Are they pointing at stuff they want or waving bye-bye? That's communication. A kid who isn't doing much of this social, playful stuff, well, that can be just as telling as a lack of words.
And then you've got these other factors that can totally stack the deck. Stuff you might not even connect, like a history of chronic ear infections, which can basically muffle sound during that super critical time when they're learning language. Or if reading problems run in the family. These things don't cause the issue, but they create a situation where a language delay is much more likely to stick around. It's all part of the detective work.
So what do the professionals do with all these clues? The words, the play, the risk factors. How do they turn all that into an actual plan? Let's walk through how they figure this out, because it's not a guessing game. It's a really systematic process. The whole goal here is to figure out which kids are just taking the scenic route and which ones could really use a boost to get on the main road. But how is that critical call actually made? Well, it happens through a really clear multi-step process.
It all kicks off with someone raising a concern. Then it's not just one big, scary test. They start broad, often with a simple questionnaire for the parents. If that screening raises a flag, then they'll move on to a full evaluation. And that eval looks at everything, not just speech, but how well they understand, their social skills, how they play, even their motor skills. It's like getting a 360-degree view of the kid.
Okay, this next part is a huge, and I mean huge shift in how we think about helping these kids. The modern approach isn't something that's just done to a child in some clinic for an hour a week. That old school model, it's been totally thrown out the window. Today, the whole game is about family-centered practice. And what that really means is that you, the family, are the most valuable player. You are the expert on your child, period. The goal is to empower parents to be the main drivers of progress by just weaving these language learning moments into your normal life. Bath time, making dinner, a walk to the park. The professional is your coach. They're in your corner, but you're the one in the driver's seat.
Which leads to the big why. Why go through all this? Why not just roll the dice and wait and see if they catch up on their own?
It's a fair question, right? Because this stuff takes time, it takes energy, and yeah, it can be really stressful.
But when you lay it all out like this, the choice becomes crystal clear. The wait-and-see approach. It's a gamble. It might work out fine, or it might not. Proactive support, on the other hand, isn't just about fixing a speech delay. It's about preventing a whole cascade of other potential problems. It's about lowering parent stress. And it's about building a way stronger foundation for everything that's coming next.
And that's the bottom line, really. The ripple effect here is enormous. You're not just teaching a kid to talk. You're teaching them how to connect with other people, how to make friends, how to get what they need. You are literally building the brain pathways that are going to help them learn to read down the line. It's like preventative medicine with these massive lifelong benefits.
So maybe we need to reframe the whole conversation. Instead of asking, is this a big enough problem to start worrying? Maybe we should be asking, how can we give this kid the strongest possible start for their future? At the end of the day, it's not about fear. It's about empowerment. It's about choosing to build a stronger foundation starting right now.